Hey guys, welcome back to the MCU HQ. This is my review for episode 1 of Loki. It dropped yesterday on Disney Plus, and I couldn't get to it yesterday because work, school, life got in the way. So here I am reviewing it. I'm going to give a quick non-spoiler thoughts, and then I'm going to hop into spoilers. So if you haven't seen the episode, I'll tell you when to click off. So, of the three shows we've got, WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier, and Loki, this is the best premiere episode. I even put on my Instagram that it's like a pretty perfect premiere episode. Tom Hiddleston, of course, great as Loki. I mean, when's he never not great as Loki? A lot of people were worried he might play the more Ragnarok or Infinity War style of Loki, the more lighthearted one, but he did not. He went right back into that Avengers Loki from 2012, the evil Loki. He nailed it. It was great. And opposite him, we have Owen Wilson as Agent Mobius of the Time Variance Authority. And I just want to say, Owen, like, Lightning McQueen is in the MCU now. My life is complete. He is a welcome addition to the show, and the duo between him and Loki is already becoming one of my favorite MCU duos. Some other characters in this, we get Judge Renslayer, played by Gugu Mbatha-Raw, who's certainly the most mysterious character on the show. She's like the judge that oversees the trials that people get when they're, on trial for meddling with time. And those trials are rigged, which I'll get to in the spoilers. It bothers me. And if you know anything about the comics, you know that character, there's something up with her. I mentioned that in spoilers. And I also found myself really enjoying the Minuteman character, who's, I want to say she's like the leader of them. The Minutemen are the TVA's soldiers. They kind of go out, they fix timelines, they take prisoners, whatever they have to do. They enforce the TVA's will. And then speaking of the TVA is so cool. And beyond like the office buildings, you do get a look at like the broader Time Variance Authority, and it's beautiful. I loved it. I audibly said wow when I saw like what it looked like. And this place is so mysterious. Gonna talk about it more in spoilers, but I just can't wait to see how it grows and expands and how we'll learn more about it as time goes on. The show sets its mystery up very well. We were promised like a mystery thriller. We're getting that, and I loved how it set it up. Show is, a lot of people say the episode's a bit slow. I personally didn't think it was. I enjoyed it the entire time, and since it's still set up, we don't get, it has a cliffhanger. It's a slow build up to introduce us to everything. It is the first episode of the show basically tells us what the show is going to be about, and the cliffhanger at the end, I was like, oh, that's what we're doing. That's what this show's about. I thought it was really cool. There are lots of Easter eggs and references to other things in the MCU, as well as just real world things like certain sodas and like candies. But I dig it. So that's really all I wanted to say. Non spoiler. There's a lot of things I want to get into in spoilers. So I thought this was a great opening to the series, and go watch it. Go watch it. Now, if you have watched it or you just don't care about spoilers, we're going to get into spoilers now. So if you haven't watched it, leave, go watch the episode, then come back. Tom Hiddleston was trying to make me cry when they showed the previously on the MCU part. He went through all 4 movies of his character development, or 5 movies of his character development in like 15 minutes, and it didn't feel rushed or forced. It felt like that's naturally what would happen if you were shown your entire life and death, and that you were directly responsible for pretty much all the bad stuff that happened. Like, man, poor Loki. But then his response of, I don't enjoy hurting people, and what he goes into, you feel sorry for him, but at the same time you're like, you're not quite there, Loki. You still got 5 more episodes of development to go through. I just wanted to mention that off the bat, but I want to give some general info on the TVA, because they do introduce some stuff. We learn about variants, timeline resets, and so there's 2 ways they can like reset a timeline. So there's resetting it, which I guess they like plant some charge and it kind of just kills the timeline. And then I can't remember the other one, but that kills the variant. If the variant's a problem, they can just kill that version. And what is a variant? Well, Judge Renslayer and Miss Minutes described it as this. You have your main timeline, which is the timeline we've been following for almost 13 years. Has it been over 13? It's been over 13 years. But so that timeline that we've been following, that's like the main timeline. Now, if you were to branch off from that timeline somehow, you become a variant and you make a variant timeline. And if that goes on for too long, it becomes what I guess the TVA considers like in the red zone. And once it hits that zone, you can't repair it. And then things start spinning off, and then we have a multiverse war, which we're going to get to in a sec. So what they do, they take prisoners, they reset the timeline, and then they put people on trial for meddling with time in a trial that's super rigged because they march you up to the judge. You don't get a defense, a lawyer, anything, because they've seen what happens. And then they're like, how do you plead? And if you don't say guilty, you get punished. And if you say guilty, you get punished. So Loki did make a very good argument, though. He said that the Avengers should be on trial because they're the ones who allowed this to happen. And then Judge Renslayer said that the Avengers, what they did was supposed to happen. I mean, I'll take it. I would have preferred if they said that the Avengers just fixed the timeline that they broke. And so they veered off of it, but they fixed it. So they don't have to be on trial. Although I guess that wouldn't make any sense because there would be variant timelines because they didn't return the baseball mitt after Hawkeye took it from the alternate timeline. And there's a timeline without Thanos and without Nebula and without Gamora. And Endgame's time travel doesn't make any sense. And a whole show about time travel, I don't think it can fix that. So I'm just gonna go with the explanation they gave me that the Avengers were supposed to do what they did. The Infinity Stones, though. The Infinity Stones are used as paperweights in the TVA. They have a whole drawer of Infinity Stones they brought in. Notice there's no Soul Stone, though. So none of the stones they brought in have been from variants willing to kill who they love. So they don't have any Soul Stones in that drawer. And they're powerless, so they don't mean anything to the TVA. And what did Loki say? Loki said he wanted power. Or I guess Mobius said Loki wanted power. And then Loki realized the TVA is the ultimate power. Guys, Loki's going to try to take over the TVA. And so yeah, so the internet had some stuff to say that Black Widow and Iron Man died just for the TVA to use stones as paperweights. And D.B. Cooper was only in the show so that he could be in the trailer. I think he was in the pitch. They're like, what if Loki does funny stuff like as D.B. Cooper? And they're like, that's great. And then they shot it just for the trailer and then just used it as exposition. It wasn't story related. It was a bet that Loki lost with Thor. And then the reason D.B. Cooper is never found is because the Bifrost swept him up in midair. So, okay, last thing, I want to talk about the cliffhanger because there's the variants, like I said, is when they veer off, but there's 2 Loki variants, which means we have 2 Lokis that have veered off of the main timeline, and Mobius is recruiting Loki to stop Loki. And like, I was like, oh, we're going there. That's what the show's about. And I thought that was really cool. And I just want to say, I love that the head writer just said straight off the bat before the episode even aired, like the day before, he's like, this is not Mephisto. Don't think it's Mephisto. He just killed the theories right there. He reset the Mephisto theories like the TVA resets the timeline. So I just want to say, I don't want to like heavily theorize about this show like everyone did with WandaVision because we know how that turned out. But I do have some thoughts I want to mention. First, the TVA is propaganda. The posters, the commercials, it just doesn't seem right. Like, are the timekeepers even real? Or are they also propaganda? Also, Kang might be behind the scenes because if you know anything about the comics, Renslayer is not a TVA judge. Renslayer is Kang's wife. So, and also, I don't buy the whole one timeline thing because if there's only one timeline, then what if can't exist? Also, the multiverse war. This is the big one. Most people are thinking we're leading into the multiverse saga, largely. And this show said if the timelines veer off and go into like the red zone, you'll have another multiverse war on your hands. And in the trailer, they showed like the timeline bending and all these branches flying off of it. That could be the start of that multiverse war. Maybe it cracks open and Doctor Strange is in the multiverse, in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and if Toby and Andrew are in No Way Home, they come in through the multiverse. This could all be leading to a multiverse war and secret wars as Avengers 5 that may or may not be directed by the Russos because they said they'll only return for Secret Wars. But guys, that's it. That's all I had on Loki. Let me know your thoughts on the episode down in the comments below. Also, leave a like on this video, subscribe, click on the bell icon to receive all notifications from the MCU HQ. That's going to be it. Have a great day, guys.